We're live. Welcome to the Best in Slot podcast, a Warcraft podcast by the community for the community. I'm your main host, Sparty. I'm here with my co-host, Midgettes. Midgettes, how are you this fine Sunday evening?
I'm doing great and happy after BlizzCon Sunday.
Post BlizzCon hangover for many people. I do recall many hangovers, post BlizzCon, post Twitch parties, and I'm sure people are suffering from them right now. And it's all worth it, right? Hopefully.
I think so.
Yeah.
You can't beat the couple of days, 2 or 3 days that you spend with the community. You just can't.
Oh, you can't. I mean, we have so much to talk about. And for those of you listening, this is episode 46. And today we'll be talking about BlizzCon 2018 and a bit of a recap and that kind of stuff going forward. But you know what, Midgets? I did leave something off our notes. Something special. You know what it is? Silence. So this has actually been about a year since we've started podcasting. We have 46 episodes now, and sure, we've missed like 6 weeks due to real life, but this is 1 year of podcasting. This is pretty exciting.
Oh, wow. Happy 1 year anniversary to us.
I know. This is pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's been roughly, about a year now, and now we're on Spotify, and it's awesome. So thank you, Midgets, for, for being voluntold and sticking through, podcasting with us and getting through it. So that's amazing.
Well, and our first podcast was about BlizzCon.
I know, it was
Our very
BlizzCon
first
Prep.
one.
That's right.
Yes, it
Deodorant on the
was.
thighs. Exactly.
Well, we've been doing this for a year.
I know, it's
And
exciting.
we haven't killed each other yet. It's good.
Well, got close. But let's start off with, your favorite part of the stream.
Yes, my absolute favorite part, which is what I thought you were going to talk about, which is why there was silence.
Oh, Sev has a good joke in chat. Okay, I'll share that one later. But I had one prepared. I've shared it with the guild, I think, already. Are you ready for this one?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Fantastic. What do you call a dinosaur with an extensive vocabulary?
What?
A thesaurus.
Oh, that's awful.
Get it? A thesaurus. I'm hilarious. That was a good joke. It was fantastic. So was Sev's
It was
joke.
not a good joke.
It's
It was
hilarious.
awful.
It's so clever. Like anybody should have seen it coming. But let's talk about BlizzCon. So BlizzCon happened. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, of course, with a newborn here. There was no way I was going. But I was able to watch a lot of it through virtual ticket and streams and that kind of stuff. I don't know. I enjoyed it. Did you watch most of it? Did you get a chance to spend a lot of time watching?
Actually, I've mostly just watched the opening ceremonies and a couple of the interviews. The nice thing about the virtual ticket is that I can pick and choose what I want to watch and then watch it. I think it's available, for at least a month, if not forever. And so I go back and I make it last longer. I don't have to have everything right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly. It lasts, and the video is going to be up there. I know there's some technical difficulties with the virtual ticket, but it was sorted out. And I mean, it worked out, and it's there, right? So people can, I know they were giving out free virtual tickets on the Facebook thing as well, but it was awesome. So to start off, I mean, the opening ceremonies, right? Mike Morhaime.
Oh, those were awesome.
It was incredible.
Those were awesome.
We've loved Mike Morhaime for years and decades, and I met J. Allen Brack. I mean, he's a fantastic dude, super passionate. He's been with the company for about 14 years now. I thought it was absolutely fantastic in terms of like how he introduced them, and Mike thanking his parents, like just.
That part was so cool. Well, and they had been to every BlizzCon, and they were watching through the virtual ticket because his dad wasn't feeling very well.
Yep.
And you could see in his eyes how hard this BlizzCon
for
was
sure.
for him. He is one of the co-founders of this gaming empire that has affected all of us, good, bad, indifferent, for many, many years. And getting to share some of those stories. I got the BlizzCon goodie book, so I've also got all of the BlizzCons since 2005. It's a really incredible book. And it's neat to hear that history and the passion and see how much they love the game and the community. I don't think there's another community out there where the developers love the community as much as they do. And some days I wonder why, but
I know.
they have such a passion and they interact so strongly with the community. It's wonderful.
No, it's absolutely incredible, and the entire introduction was touching, and it was very heartfelt, lots of hugs. It was a good torch handoff to J. Allen Brack. I mean, it was amazing, and I think one of the best things was the cinematic, um, the intro one, where they went through the different games and different cinematics that they've had over the years, and like I every time I saw one, I thought of Taryn Gregory, and then of course it said "Welcome Home," right? Because this is where gamers come home, right? Like that's the one big congregation of all this nerds and geeks and cosplayers and pet bottlers and raiders and PvPers. We're coming home to BlizzCon, and I thought that was a fantastic little two liner, right? Like it was amazing. I loved it.
Well, and it was, but I'm sorry. Well, and I tweeted an article that said, the cinematics stole the show for
Oh, for sure.
2018.
Like it.
And they really did. And when I saw Lost Honor,
Mm-hmm.
that was such a excellent cinematic. I have become now I am Alliance through and through. My first tune, all of my tunes have been Alliance. And I'm sitting here hurrying to level my horde because I really like Sorafang.
Yeah, he's awesome, and like he embodies what the Horde should be, right? That honor, what sort of Thrall had. We're all cheering for Sarfang. We want Lady Sylvanas to, be brought down a couple pegs and killed, obviously. But yeah, we want Sarfang to be the new war chief. At least that's the way the direction looks like it's going. And them teaming up, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, that cinematic was fantastic. It was a good one. You know, I think there were some holes in it, like some issues in terms of, well, I guess he could have killed him, and there was no guards or anything, but it was good. It was a great cinematic. I think we loved it overall.
Oh, I think so too. And it's interesting how they're spacing this story out,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like I'm at the end of a season, and you have the season finale, and then you've got to wait a little longer,
Mm-hmm.
wait through summer to come back to the next season. And so it's been interesting as to how they've been playing it and pacing it out. And it's even more interesting watching the community reactions to them. You need a lot of popcorn for
Oh,
that, though.
I know. I mean, it's great though. I mean, there's a lot of good things that came out of it, and we'll talk about 8.1 and 8.2 and that kind of stuff. But I guess some of the other big recaps coming out of BlizzCon, right? So MDIs were something that we were all looking forward to. Sloopbag, Jack, Nagura, everybody that was that was hosting them. It was super well done. I think there was a remake in one of them. I had to step away from my computer for a bit. I'm like, oh, well, what happened? Apparently, there was an issue with one of the matches. But yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, it was an invitational, and Free Marcy won, and I was cheering for those guys because those guys were the underdogs. Method's obviously the powerhouse teams, but yeah, I mean, Free Marcy winning, fantastic, right? I mean,
Well, Free Marcy's been my favorite
yeah.
since
Well,
last
they won the
MDIs.
2017 one, and so they had a super strong team, and yeah, I mean, lots of practice. Great job by those guys, by the Aussies.
It was actually fun to watch, and it was fun to see on the BlizzCon show
Mm-hmm.
or on the floor. But the big one, and I'm not even a big arena person,
Mm-hmm.
but the big one was Method Orange winning, and the joy these guys have been trying and trying. This is the first North American team since 2013
Mm-hmm.
to win, and I wish you've got two dads in there. You have some second and third and fifth place, and I have, Chinglish was even streaming on the floor of BlizzCon
Mm-hmm.
and turned around and so from his stream you were watching him watch them win.
That's
It
awesome.
was awesome.
That is pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, great on those guys. Everyone was cheering for Sea-Doo. They wanted him to win. The Ghoster crew, they were fantastic. They were on a roll. Like they were absolutely on fire. And I mean, Method Orange won, and it was amazing. Does it really matter where they're coming from? Not really. They had a solid team, and it was a solid lineup, and they played well. I mean, that Demon Hunter was quite key for burning down that mana in that last match. And I mean, I don't do a lot of PvP. I haven't PvP'd seriously since season one, when we had twos, and that was a serious thing. But watching these guys play gets you super excited. Like it was a ton of fun to watch, and the casters were hyping it up like crazy. So I loved watching it. The World Championships, that kind of stuff, are one of the only times I ever watch arenas, but they make it super super fun. So I loved it.
Well, and I think it's wonderful they won. And their responses and their faces were so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely fun. And then of course we had the BlizzCon Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
What did we think of it? We all know that, those super hard questions are probably not going to make it on the
Yeah,
Q&A.
so I did the Q&A last year, right? So I went up there. One of my questions was selected, and the process for these question selection, they have a community manager that goes through them and vets the questions essentially. And the developers and producers, they want questions about their next content, right? If you're a theory crafter, if you're a shaman, and why were shamans nerfed 4 years ago, or why are shamans the worst healer right now? That's not something they want to really talk about. They want to talk about, things going in the future, about Azurite, about, Thrall, the new war chief, about global cooldowns. They want to talk about that kind of stuff, right? So these questions are all pre-selected, and you've got them on a little card for you, which is great. And of course, everybody introduces themselves and their guild. And of course, we had Zakul from Zeros to Heroes representing us again, which was amazing. But yeah, I mean, they had some good questions. Questions that come up every single year. It's armor dies. It's classic stuff again. Did we not get a quiver question this year? I can't recall, or like a
No, I
gun
don't
ammo
think
pouch.
so. No,
Okay, well
we
that's
don't.
good.
I think we actually managed to miss that this
Thank
year.
God. Yeah, but I think what really, I mean, everybody knows this. What stole the show was Chris Metzen. I mean, him coming in there, take the mic and here you go, right? When's the next war chief coming back, or the true war chief coming back? That was fantastic. Everybody was just for the Horde, and even if you're for the Alliance, I think we all wanted to be for the Horde just to get Chris Metzen back there, because I would transfer. I would transfer to Horde for a day if Chris Metzen would come back.
I'll tell you what, Chris Madsen brings a spirit, especially for the Horde. And when I was listening to, I don't remember his name, but he was doing, the Horde and the Alliance, and all I could think was, you're nice, very nice guy, but you're not Chris Metzen,
I know.
and can we have him back, please?
Yeah. No, for sure. And I guess some of the big stuff that came out of there was the global cooldown stuff, right? I mean, that's something that's been a huge thorn in Raider sides and everybody else. They've hated the global cooldown stuff. Well, now I guess they're seeing where the wisdom is, and that's moving more abilities off the global cooldown. Moving in utility abilities will be taken off the global cooldown now, which is great. It's a step in the right direction, and I think at the end of the expansion, we might go back to a system where things are back on the cooldown, or sorry, back off the global cooldown. We'll see, though. I mean, they're pretty happy with offensive abilities being there. Maybe that is the sweet spot where you have your offensive abilities on the GCD, but everything else off of it. And maybe that's the right way to go. But, we'll see. They're learning. It's been quite a
It's work in
project.
process. Well,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because, so for example, for a disc priest, they're bringing back Weakened Soul. So I'm really
Hmm.
curious to see where this is all going. By the way, I've got to step back just because one of your viewers said I'm telling Tally that Sparty just said he'd transfer Horde if Green Jesus came back, because Tally said not too long ago that he offered to transfer all of the guild over to the Horde. So you need to be careful what sort of guilds it's promises you make.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I can afford that one. But, if Christmas comes back, and I don't know, we'll see. Well, again, I said for a day, right? And then he's got to transfer us back.
Well, that would be an expensive transfer. You
Yeah.
have a cooldown on that too.
Oh,
But I
that's true.
just wanted to be careful about that. But the global cooldown stuff is interesting. And it's interesting. And I was thinking about it because I don't know that at the beginning of any expansion
Hmm.
that I've been 1000% happy with everything in the game.
Yep.
And by the end of the game, I'm much happier. So the things that are being improved on as we go along, I'm enjoying more. And I can't help but be excited for 8.1. I know that there's some things I still kind of go, but there's other things that they keep bringing in, and I really want to see this story continue to develop with Sarafek. And I'm working on my Horde because I want to see, even though you'll have the ability to see the Horde side or the Alliance side. I believe in LFR, you'll have the ability to go in and see the bosses the way they do.
Hmm.
I want to experience it on the Horde side.
Yeah,
Plus, I
for the
need the
story.
rep for the allied. I need the rep for the allied races, And the big draw is that there's some horde only pets that I want to go get.
Oh, interesting. You're just talking about, at the end of the expansion, you really like it. I'm trying to think back to any expansion in the past, all of the expansions that I've played, where the start has not been rough. In my recollection, every single expansion has had a really rough first sort of big patch. Whether it was Wrath, that had, things being too easy and the raids being a joke, and that was an issue. And of course, people hated Group Finder, which I think came a little bit later. BC, had a lot of issues as well, leveling and duration there. Mists of Pandaria had dailies, and people hated those, and Worlds of Draenor had garrison issues. There's always been issues, but by the end, I mean, we're really liking it, and of course, we're liking old expansions. And I'm hearing you say that, I'm like, oh, I wonder if she liked the end of Worlds of Draenor and the downtime there. But I mean, I guess to each their
I
own.
liked Warlords.
So did I by the end. I mean, I loved having the time to
I
play other
liked it
games.
throughout the whole. But see, the problem is, Sparty, is especially for what I enjoy in the game, because I enjoy raiding too, but it's not my only focus. I have
Yep.
so many things that I like. There are a lot of things, especially in the professions. Um, Being able to just stop and do archaeology for a minute or fish for a minute
Hmm.
or all of the things they're putting in a vendor so that I have a fishing raft. There are so many things that I truly enjoy at BFA that I come in and I find something to do and I have fun. And the things that I don't necessarily like I'm still annoyed about the guild bank and things of that
Oh
nature
man,
because
the
it's
guild
still
roster. Yep.
not working quite right. I have gotten better. But I choose to go in and still find something fun to do versus coming in and hating it all.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and you have to, I guess, have that personality of, finding the good in things. So speaking of good things, so the new charity pet, the little Whomper thing, the little mini Yeti, right? That
Oh,
is
he's
out.
cute.
Yeah, and so there were issues. People weren't liking Whomper because it was some code.org thing. Have you looked into this code.org thing? What is it exactly? So it was Make a Wish before. It was American Red Cross before. Now it's code.org.
Code.org is an organization, and I had to do a little bit of research before I decided to buy the pet. And you need to understand that for me, usually as soon as they announce the Make a Wish pet is what I've always called them.
Mm-hmm.
They're not on the board but 5 minutes, and I've already bought it. And I finally purchased it later today, but I wanted to do some research on code.org. And what it is it's a organization that helps students be able to get more into computer science,
Mm-hmm.
which so we're building the future. And I dug a little deeper because I want to make sure that I don't have some hidden political agenda behind them because so many of the charities out there aren't just charities. And they came up and they're well sponsored by people like Google and Amazon, and they work with you know um, minorities and women,
Mm-hmm.
and their focus is getting them into computer science. And for a company like Blizzard, I can honestly see the goal of doing it. I am going to tell you I preferred giving to Make a Wish, but it's not an organization that I'm against, so to speak. I just liked giving to Make a Wish.
Yeah, and I mean, with code.org, I guess they're investing in the future, right? Which is fantastic, right? And you're paying it back to the community of, you want more of these people getting into programming and into development, and maybe one day, people that were sponsored and had money, through code.org eventually become Blizzard employees and the next developers of, next year or so,
Yeah, so
next many years.
I can see the purpose of it.
Hmm.
I just for me it was something that I had to do a little bit more research, and I'm not 100% sold on code.org, but I went ahead and got the pet. And if I had not been sold at all, I wouldn't have gotten the pet. And you guys know how much I love pets.
Hmm.
So I would have just waited until either it was no longer being donated to charity and or not got it in it at all. So they get to make those decisions and I get to make mine. But I went ahead and got the pet because it seems like it's an okay organization. I just like to make a wish.
Cool. Awesome. So the other big news, I mean, patch 8.1, we know that's coming. You know, new raids coming. Tides of Vengeance, December 11th, 2018. So that's exciting. There is, a lot of fixes for the current game. I wish they were in right now. They're not in yet, but a lot of the stuff that's coming, I guess I mean, there's a bit of a cinematic for Tides of Vengeance, the more casual stuff. So new Children's Week holidays for Kulturan and Zendalari Orphan Quest, new micro holidays, that kind of stuff. I guess the other one that's coming is Worlds of Draenor Time Walking. I don't know.
Yes, for all of you people who
is
still
it too
like
soon?
Warlords of Draenor.
I don't know. I think it's too early for Worlds of Draenor Time Walking. Maybe I don't know how many. Just all the expansions are flying by right now, so I suppose it is time. I would have loved to see it maybe an 8.2 or something, but it is free, easy content. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'd rather be doing the other ones now. And yeah, so the other stuff, so they're tweaking war fronts. We're getting heroic war fronts, which are going to be pretty cool. What else? I mean, the raids.
No, 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 no. The best part is there's a roller coaster coming to the Darkmoon Fair.
Yes. So I saw that as well. I saw there's the picture of the roller coaster, and of course it brings me back to like 20 years ago of playing Roller Coaster Tycoon and designing these little roller coasters and then riding like a first person view of these roller coasters. So I wonder what it's going to be like, and I wonder, I don't know.
Well, actually, what they said is it was basically a motion sickness simulator.
Oh, really?
And they went on to say that it was a labor of love from the creators of the Darkmoon Fair. So I think
Ah.
other than getting in there and getting to ride the roller coaster, I don't believe it's going to have any buffs or anything, but we don't know. But I think it's cool that they keep adding things to the Darkmoon Fair.
There should be an achievement for eat lots of food, candy, whatever, then ride roller coaster and puke. Well, that'd be perfect. Like that's just
We
realism
can
in a
have an
nutshell.
achievement, and then instead of doing chew until you spew, we'll have some sort of contest with the roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. The other big stuff, there's more mounts, and I mean, I thought those mounts were really boring. Two new mount rewards, okay, whatever, which is great, I suppose. There's new portal rooms which are being added to increase the longevity of these portal rooms. So that'll be rebuilt, which is super nice. New profession quest. So this tools of the trade look pretty cool. So I can repair my own gear and save the guild bank some money, as well as when I craft gear, I can make it indestructible. And each profession has their own little thing. But what the hell do I do with the sanguicells? Like I've got 600 of these things. They didn't tell me anything about them.
I know. Well, and I still don't have a ink trader, so don't get me started on
Yeah,
that.
no, I know.
And the only thing I want to say about that, and this comes from somebody who professions are part of the reason I enjoy the gameplay.
Hmm.
I sincerely hope that they don't continue to gate this stuff behind content that I don't want to do. And one of my biggest problems with Legion, and it was the first XPEC since I started playing, that I almost didn't get all of my professions leveled because they were buried behind, dungeons and whatnot. And a lot of those tunes, I don't want to play at a dungeon level. So once our artifacts were empowered and I could solo the things, because I could go in there and solo the instances on normal and get them done. I went in and got them done, but I'm doing them like the last week of the expansion.
Hmm.
And so I don't like the professions and some of the play that would be considered more for the casual base. We have two types of people who do professions. We have people who do them for the raid buffs and for raid needs, and then we have those people who like to do them to either sell on the auction house or they enjoy farming. Why do I have to go do a raid to get a rank 3 uh, anchorweed? I don't want to.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's a mixed bag, and yeah, I think professions were a big miss this expansion so far, and I don't know. I mean, it seems lack of foresight with the whole Sanguine Cell thing, and yeah, in 8.1 we may be getting feasts. So
Yeah,
feasts,
there is. You're going to be able to make them with feasts instead of
so
the midnight salmon. So that will be
great,
helpful, and that's the
but
use for them. But I was hoping for a vendor.
yeah, like give us like maybe we had them in previous expansions. You're able to trade them back and forth or do whatever, buy some herbs or something with a sanguicell. But it just I don't know. It seems like a huge waste, and it seems just again lack of foresight. I wish they had done something a little bit earlier, and maybe played the game longer in beta and like, oh hey, we've done a few raids. We like all this stuff is stacking up like crazy, right? We have no way to spend it. Um, So the other stuff, so Brawlers Guild is coming back in 8.1.5, right? So the way it's going to work is 8.1 is going to come out December 11th, and then roughly about a month later, we're expecting that we're going to get the raid. It's likely early January, once everyone is back from Christmas vacation, and then we get right into raiding, right? That should be the plan. Um,
Pretty much, yeah.
yeah, and that's sort of standard for what they've done in the last couple expansions, where they're going in 8.1, 8.15, which will have Brawlers Guild returning. There's some new bosses, I don't know who is excited about shirts. Like, I don't understand. Like, you can't see shirts. Like, do people just walk around topless and just wear their shirts? I don't
Well, the
understand.
completionist in me likes to have them all. But in fairness, I didn't get the pet out of the Brawlers Guild last season either.
Oh, well, you should. You should have. The other stuff, so War Song and Arathi being remastered with high definition upgrades. Okay, that's cool. I don't know. I like the old ones. I didn't like the color scheme of the new versions, the high definition stuff. I mean, there's something to be said about the really, I don't know, high contrast colors that we have right now in Warcraft and the cartoony graphics, that are not realistic. I don't know. I really like those. Uh, what else? We have 8.2 obviously is the other big one, right? We have Rise of Ashara, which is the rise of the Najjatar, the landmass beneath the sea. There's new stories and new Molten Front daily style things, lots of replayable content. Typical stuff for a new patch. So we'll have a Naga Hatchery boss, obviously the Queen Ashara fight itself, and an underwater boss. So that's
I cannot wait for that. Said with much
yeah,
sarcasm.
yeah. These underwater bosses. I mean, for those of you that remember playing Vashir, it was sort of hit and miss. We'll see how it plays out because it's still early in development, and that's a maybe. So they're currently thinking about it, to see what it's going to play like. For those of you that are old EverQuest,
Can I get him to go back and do Vashar, and go do that whole zone and do the dungeon in there again? And then maybe they won't think about it anymore.
I don't know. It just, yeah. For those of you that played it in Burning Crusade, if you guys ever raided in Serpent Shrine Cavern, the lurker below was technically an underwater boss, partly above water boss. It was a huge pain in the ass. And I mean, when you're having to swim around things, unless you have some kind of massive buffs and you're able to really negate like the slow swim speed, right? I mean, we've had Z-axis bosses in the past through Alakir and Kael Thas, and those were pretty cool to an extent. Alakir was a little annoying. Kael Thas was pretty cool at the time because it was one of the first ones like that. But an underwater boss, I don't know. I mean, again, in EverQuest we raided a zone called Kedge Keep, and there are lots of seahorses and mermaids and that kind of stuff. But it required a lot of planning, a lot of gear. Because it was a truly underwater zone, it required underwater breathing buffs. Otherwise, you were going to drown, and that happened plenty of times in different raids. So I'm curious as to how they're going to execute this underwater boss, whether it's going to be half underwater, half above water. You got to swim around different things. I don't know.
The good news is the leatherworkers can make you swimsuits. That improves swimming speed, and you can breathe underwater. I can just see it now. Midgets, we need all of these swimsuits for this raid.
I need a new wetsuit and a bikini.
You need a new wetsuit, yeah. And as soon as you die, they're gone. So you have to start over.
Oh, man. And of course, they're going to be little Speedos, and the less material, the more they cost, right? Like, isn't that the way things go?
Right, absolutely.
So the other really cool stuff that came out was, of course, Classic. That's coming.
No. You skipped the Mecha Gnomes.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Of course the Mecha. Yeah. Well, you're a gnome. Of course, I accidentally skipped that one. So yes, the Mechagon. It's 8.2 stuff, which is going to happen sometime summer of next year. So it's still a ways away.
I don't care. We've got Mecha Gnomes. It's the ancient lost city of the gnomes.
Yes, the ancient lost city. Maybe it was lost for a good reason. Yeah, so it is a pretty cool, little landmass. I'm not sure where it's going to be, but I guess it's a closed vault somewhere. I haven't gone to that place. I know there was a picture of it, right? There's this vault that was sealed the entire time. Do you know where is this vault again? Somebody remind me?
I don't know. I'm going to wait and find out.
Okay.
But they keep asking if there are gnome paladins. And according to the gnome community and the outrage, it looks like the Zandalari trolls are going to get a paladin, but the gnomes are not.
It's dumb. That's so dumb. You know what? If gnomes could have been paladins, I would have been a gnome paladin a long time ago, because back in the day, gnomes had an intellect racial bonus. So you had, more spell power, more mana as a gnome, and I would have totally gone gnome paladin. But not there.
But no, we have. It doesn't look like we're getting gnome paladins, but we did get an allied race, so it's exciting.
Yeah, no, and that's fantastic, right? To have those new allied races. The other stuff that's coming out is obviously new island expedition maps, more heritage armor, fantastic, whatever. Um,
The B mount is
yes,
coming.
yes, the beam. Okay, so we've been wanting the beam for a while. I did ask during one of my interviews, are we getting the damn B mount? When I interviewed one of the producers at PAX, he's like, well, of course you're getting a B mount, right? I mean, it makes sense because you can fly the bee in what is that zone? The one up north there. And yeah, we're getting the B mount, which is great. And I showed my daughter the B mount today, and she loved it too. Like when I was going from flight point to flight point, so she loved that stuff. And of course, I had to buy her, that little what is it? Little the Admiral the stallion, the white stallion from Proud More People, and so she liked that one. Admiralty stallion. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, what else? Yeah, new arenas. Pathfinder Part 2 and flying will come out with Rise of Ashara. So again, plan on flying sometime summer of next year. More affixes. We're going to get the reaping affix, which is basically it's a really interesting way of doing things. Basically, the way it's slated right now is when you're in a dungeon, for every however many mobs you kill, it'll spawn a little ghost which you can't touch. But once you hit a threshold of you know 20, like every 20%, that set of ads, like a tormented one, something else, will eventually just rush you. Like they're going to rush you from across the zone and attack you. So it'll add for some interesting pulls depending on how the ads are killed. And I'm curious to see how reaping will work because it'll definitely change things up, but it'll make the MDIs way more exciting with this potential reaping affix.
I think it's all going to be interesting, and I like some of the stuff that's coming in 8.1.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it I would have liked to have had now,
I know.
but I do think that it's getting better, and so I always sort of get in the game and just go get better.
Mm-hmm.
But they also, and I liked the announcement of Classic. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the classic announcement, awesome. We knew it was coming. Apparently, it's been in development for 2 years. And what does in development means? Well, I mean, if I have a thought of something, it's technically in development, right? I mean, I'm not lying. I'm developing something, but it's in my brain right now. I have nothing to show for it, but it's in my brain. And yeah, so it's been in the works for a while. There's been some good content, some really good interviews coming out of Wowhead and Emochamp and everybody else in terms of what's being allowed. So, people, I've always asked me on stream here, hey, what if, somebody gets an Ashbringer in Classic? Do you think they will, bring it over to their new servers? No, not going to happen. They obviously want to limit a lot of stuff, but bring some of the functionality that we have now in terms of modern architecture. So BattleNet should be working. Obviously, no group finder, no flying, none of that stuff. I mean, it's good for those people that want to play Classic. Great. I did all of it when it was current. I have zero desire and zero time to do it again. My suspicion again is, the nostalgia glasses are quite strong. People will play it for a month or so and realize how good we have it now. Again,
Right.
summer of 2019, so could be August. We'll see. It'll be close to what the 8.2 patch as well, and we'll see how much it has. Right. Again, it was a demo, right? It was a demo, and eventually because of the server issues, which was really funny because we had server issues in Classic, so they had server issues and load issues with the demo. And so, because of those issues, they said, okay, well, your 1 hour cap of playing is now open. So go play for as much as you want, which is great. And of course, it's available to anyone with a Warcraft subscription, which is great because, nothing in life is free. At the same time, I mean, people are upset about that. Why can't I get a Classic for free? But I think it's good. You don't have to pay an additional subscription. It'll just be a different, set of rules and servers. And other games have done that as well. So I think it's a good way of going forward. What about you?
Probably, since it's included, I would have, I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't have paid a separate subscription.
Mm-hmm.
I may go check it out because I wouldn't mind seeing some of the historic moments as they happen, like the gates of
Encourage,
whatever.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's one thing they're planning on doing is they're planning on rolling out different patches up to 1.12, which was one of the finale patches. So they're gonna roll them out slowly. We'll see how much time. There's no plans of bringing in Burning Crusade stuff. But I mean, it should be good. I mean, for people that have not played Classic, I think I would encourage them to play Classic and try Classic and, spend a couple weekends on Classic. And, it was really cool to live through. But again, I have no desire to do it again. Like, I'm sure plenty of streamers will hop on the bandwagon of, oh, it's Classic, I did all this stuff. I could share the stories, yeah, but I just don't have the same time to play. That's it. Like, I don't have the time to run around for an hour to get to a flight point. Like there was one flight point per zone. How many do we have in Trustvar? Like 12, right? Plus boats.
Plus boats, plus portals, plus
Yeah.
speed boosts from our,
No, and you
we're
were
very
walking.
spoiled because didn't the Hearthstone like used to be like an hour?
Yeah, it was an hour Hearthstone. I remember trying to run to like a camp spot or somewhere or to an inn to log out. And we could talk about, old nostalgia stuff later on, but people are going to realize pretty quickly how good we have it now. And, the sort of hardcore RP gamer for the most part is dead, right? We were not in the same time place where we can be spending all this time playing. But, we'll see. I will encourage people to play it though, to try it out once it is live.
I'll be curious to see what a new generation of Warcraft gamers think of it because they may think it's awesome. It is. I remember going back and there was a Hunter quest line,
Mm-hmm.
and I did it in Wrath, and it was still a bugger in Wrath. But back in the day when it came out, because it gave you, and I still got those pieces, it gave you these epic, this hunter bow and this staff, and I've got them in my bags.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, if somebody had those, they were no, I mean, everybody knew they were a really good player because it was very, very hard content.
Yeah, they were
So
very
people
difficult to
may
do.
really, really enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those players that that are able to do those things, great. Again, I think the difficulty has come a long way from those kinds of quests, and most players will be able to do them at this point, just with how much we've learned and how as gamers we've grown. So like the Hunter Epic quest, probably be a little bit easier compared to when it was current, right? Because we didn't have the same tools as we do now.
Right. But I think the best thing I saw about Classic, and it made me laugh, was Warcraft Logs posted that everybody keeps asking him if he's going to, provide logs for Classic. And he said, well, why would I? You want to experience the actual experience. We didn't have logs then.
Yeah, no, and I remember that from Career of Temerity too. Yeah, Midges has gone, robotic for us, but that's okay too. She's gone Mechanome on us, just to try it out. Thank you, Midgets, for showing us the Mechanomes. But so I mean, it'll be exciting. We'll see how Classic pans out. They don't want logs. Some add-ons will work, some APIs will, and some others will not. But I guess the big and I guess one of the best announcements coming out of that initial one was the Warcraft 3 Reforge, and I made a joke of like, well, we wanted Titan Forge, and all we got was Reforge, and Reforging is back. But that's exciting. So the Warcraft 3, I mean, when I played it back in high school with my buddies, like we loved it. We went to little internet cafes and we played multiplayer matches against each other, and it was awesome. And obviously, if you didn't kill Sparty first, that was your biggest mistake. And it was awesome. It was a blast to play, and I'm glad they're going to remaster this. It seems like they've used a lot of the Heroes of the Storm content and the assets to really increase the textures and the models and everything else, make it really pretty. In previous times, so in previous games, so for those of you that are old Final Fantasy players, you played Final Fantasy 7, you loved it, all that stuff. The remaster, I mean, it's not the same. Whereas I think when playing Warcraft 3 again, and it'll be both the base game and the expansion, it'll be a lot better. Just because it'll be prettier and it'll bring back some of those nostalgia feels from before. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, were you a player of Warcraft 3 back in the day?
No, I wasn't. Am I not robot-y now?
No, you're all good.
Okay. I wasn't, but I'm looking forward to it. And of course, I had to pre-order it because I wanted the mount.
Oh, that meat wagon mount is awesome. My hope for this meat wagon mount. So, if you guys don't know, you can pre-purchase the game, and it's going to come out sometime next year, right? I mean, it could. I think it's by Christmas of next year, so sometime, right? But purchasing is awesome. You get a meat mount, so it's basically a meat wagon. The catapult does work, so apparently it's going to kill critters. My hope is it's a two-person mount at some point. You can launch your friends like off a
Oh
cliff or something.
no, that
I
would
would
be
love that.
awful.
Imagine, launching gnomes at a castle, right? Like siege.
Why do you have to launch gnomes?
Well,
Why
what else is
can't
going to
you
fit inside the
launch?
catapult launcher?
No, you can launch goblins.
Rocks?
You can launch humans.
No, we're too big. We have to drive the catapults.
No, we can launch you.
No, I don't think so.
And we're gonna, Lori and I are gonna find that out.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, so the other big, the contention, well, we have to talk about this one, of course, is Diablo Immortal. So it was an interesting presentation by, I forget his, was it Wyatt? Wyatt Chang? I can't recall his name. So, I mean, bit of a community uproar. The presentation was okay.
A bit? What do you describe as a bit?
I mean, it was okay. It was an all right presentation. He wasn't super charismatic, but that it is what it is. It's a smaller team. So I will preface with they did lay out expectations early on, right? They said temper your expectations. It's really tough. I saw the tweets from some of the community managers saying, listen, Diablo 4 is not coming. They made a clear post, and of course people are just are too blind to to read most of these things anyway. And for some strange reason, they're going to expect Diablo 4. So yeah, I mean, at the same, yes, people have not wanted to, or didn't really expect or want a mobile game, especially when the Switch thing is out already and people are playing Diablo on Switch. So part of the issue is tempered expectations. People want something different. They wanted a remaster. That's not the way it works. In terms of how things are being remastered and the plan for the games, and my inside sources are probably going to hate me, but basically, Warcraft 3 remastered was first. Diablo 2 remastered will be next, likely announced next BlizzCon, and then Diablo 4 after that. So people need to temper their expectations. This has been coming for a while. So Classic has been coming for a while. A lot of the criticisms are, this, what is it, NetEase company? Is that what they are? So they're, I believe, an Asian company that do a lot of these mobile games, and they say it's a direct ripoff. But there's an interview, I think it was PC Gamer did. I can't remember who they interviewed. J. Allen Brack, or no, it was Adham. Yeah, they interviewed Adam, and they didn't expect this kind of uproar, but at the same time, like, it's not a reskin. The assets are brand new. The similarities, though, do lie in the UI architecture, and it's not the UI architecture, the actual graphical user interface of how you're hitting the buttons and that kind of stuff, because it has worked. But that's simply the control scheme of NetEase and how they've adopted those previous games. So yeah, I mean, a lot of uproar. People upset, lots of memes. The video for the trailer had, I think, like 11,000 likes and like 350,000 dislikes. People aren't happy. At the same time, like, it's too bad. There's a lot of things to say. Is it entitled gamers? Not really. Like, it's just temporary expectations. I think that's what it came down to. I don't know. What did you think so far?
I'm not a big Diablo fan and never have been. All I ever looked at it is where you guys would go for a couple of weeks where you were bored and you would come back.
Yeah, and that was Diablo 3 in a nutshell, right? Like, we played, 2 weeks of a season, and they're like, oh, we're done with this. Like, where's this thing going? We'll do some rifts, and that was it, right? Diablo 2 was, it was pretty much a masterpiece later on once they had a lot of things worked out. I know some of our older players, 20 plus years ago, played the crap out of Diablo, and people were hoping for a remaster, but realistically, like, when there's only 2 Diablo panels, right, there's not a lot going to happen, right? And you got to be logical with, okay, they've got little Diablo section, not a massive Diablo testing section, like they did with with Diablo 3 and even with the Necromancer. So yeah, again, just disappointing with how it played out. People wanted different things, and that's fine. You will get those things eventually. Diablo 2 being remastered and Diablo 4 later on. I don't know. I mean, I saw Grums, which is like, this is the guy that wanted Classic, the old EQ, or sorry, not EQ, the old Classic developer, and he was on the whole Nostralius thing, and met with Mike Morheim, the same guy, right? So the old developer, he was with Firefall, which failed horribly, and so he had a whole long tweet thread of like, this is a PR disaster, didn't expect this, disappointing from Blizzard. Well, no, I mean, they could have done more in terms of getting it out there that, listen, Diablo is not going to happen. Don't expect these crazy things. And there was a massive blog post, but you just need to get it out there. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure this game.
Well,
Go ahead.
well, I was just going to suggest that potentially there's a different marketing strategy
Hmm.
because for me, I wasn't around for the original Diablo. And maybe by getting more people involved in mobile, because so many people are doing things mobile, there'll be an entire new fan base, which will give
Potentially.
all kinds of other things. And it's interesting though, because so often we hear something, and I'll use even my reaction to code.org. So my first thought was, I don't like this,
Hmm.
but I didn't know anything about it. And we're so quick to say this is awful or this is great without actually trying it out. And so I'm going to be curious to see how the mobile version works and what people think of it. But I don't think the world has ended. But then again, I generally don't. And then I open Twitter and find out apparently the world ended.
Well, clearly you were wrong for, I mean, for doing research and looking into it. I mean, we had players at BlizzCon and they tried it. Like they tried it and it's like, ah, it seems pretty good. You know, played it on a Samsung, seemed fine. You know, it takes a little bit to get used to, like any mobile game. But I mean, you might be right. The mobile market is quite large. It's something that may appease shareholders, but it might not also not be targeted towards, you know, someone like me. It might be targeted more towards someone like you or new Diablo type of players, right? I know, like my wife, she would totally play it. Driaz would absolutely play that. She plays all her other little games on her phone now. I think she would play it, especially when you're going on a train or a bus or whatever, and you want things to do. Sure, why not, right? Like it's doable. Yeah, it could have been handled a little bit better, but I mean, there's plenty of really good interviews out there of like, this is not a ripoff of this NetEase game. The backlash, from fans claiming that Blizzard was spitting in their faces, that they deserve this after 20 years. Come on, like, grow up, get a grip. Yeah, I mean, obviously the fan base is very PC and slightly console focused, but at the same time, like, get a grip, right? Like, I don't know what else there is to say, unless I
Well,
say meaner.
interestingly enough, somebody just said in our chat that it's targeted towards the China market.
Mm-hmm. And
And
that's the thing,
maybe they
right?
have a
Like,
bigger fan base, and mobile is huge over there.
yeah,
So we've just got. Sometimes we forget when we look at something, we just go, "I don't like it," and sometimes we're right. Maybe we don't. Maybe we never will, but somebody might. And I think maybe that's where we go into the closing off of, because one of the things that we had a discussion today in Guild Chat is we all have really strong and passionate beliefs about a lot of things, not just our World of Warcraft gaming or Blizzard Entertainment or the games, but that goes into all of the things, whether it's politics or whatever. And we've got to recognize for something that we absolutely hate, somebody else absolutely loves. And if you look at the demographic of people who play Blizzard games, the
mm-hmm.
whole spectrum, not just Warcraft, but even within Warcraft, we've got people at the age of 13 all the way up to the age of 70. And there's an entire market in between of people that they're appealing to. And we do a disservice to ourselves and we do a disservice to the community. And we absolutely do a disservice to all of the people who put so much passion into what they're doing to not at least give it a chance. We may still walk away and hate it. And we absolutely want people to be able to say, hey, I don't like that. But I don't know where somewhere in our conversations it became okay to be a jerk about it.
I don't know. I mean, it's just the growth of toxicity and all that stuff we could talk about later as well. And we have talked about it in the past, right? I mean, that might be playing a part of it. And, the day and age we live in and of the anonymous people on the internet. But I mean, going back to a point that, I mean, Hertgrim and chat here said, it's hugely, the mobile market is hugely popular in the Asia markets because a lot of them spend tons of time commuting. And that's the kind of, player base they're potentially looking for, which is awesome. Like, that's great. That's going to appeal that way. And here we are sitting in North America and like, well, what do you mean? Like, how is that even possible? This is not what I wanted. I can't play my Diablo, from my computer when I commute to work. Like, well, that's what they wanted. But at the same time, you know what? The blame's on them for not educating themselves, for overhyping themselves and not tempering their expectations as to what was going to happen. So, big announcement's going to happen next year for the Diablo 2 being remastered. Diablo 4, likely the BlizzCon after that. They are working on all these things. You'll see more from Diablo next year, um, and yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and yeah, there were some missteps here, but at the same time, the community backlash was certainly not pleasant and not warranted. I don't think.
Okay.
The other big stuff here. So again, I wasn't able to go to BlizzCon this year, but people that were tweeting pictures, sending pictures, it was awesome. We had great chats in our Discord and in our guild chat, and obviously on Twitter. Like I miss it. Like I was seeing all these people at the Hilton and at the convention taking pictures. I'm like, oh god, I missed Con Before the Storm and all the other really cool stuff. It was a big miss, and I mean, yes, if any of the BlizzCons to miss, this was the one because there wasn't that much, and as a huge Warcraft fan, there wasn't a crazy amount of stuff. A lot of it was already partly announced, but at the same time, here's hoping to next year. The other really cool thing I wanted to point out was I forget what her name is, but the Turtle Lady. The Turtle Lady had an awesome tweet there, super heartfelt. This was her first ever like big convention, and everybody was super thoughtful and loved her her voice, and she did the turtle voice for her or for the fans, and it was awesome. So you talk about people being 13 to 70. Realistically, it's like from 4 years old when you get your kids to farm herbs and fish for you to the 90-year-old people that are still playing for the the social gain, or to play something fun. It's awesome. And onwards to next BlizzCon. It is roughly 365 days until the next one. It'll be exciting. I'm hoping to go to this one. I knew for a while I would not be going to this one, so I was hoping to temper everyone's expectations. But yeah, I mean, it was good. And I guess to sort of close off, with this whole BlizzCon thing, there's a lot of passionate players and developers, and I know the Blizzard employees because I've seen and talked to them about how much they work on these things and how much overtime they put in. And it's a fantastic celebration, right? It's once a year the community comes together to celebrate the previous year in the Blizzard communities and to see some of the new things coming in the year ahead. The first BlizzCon was 2005, and here we are, 13 years later, with memories of special announcements and new expansions and features and games and other kinds of offerings from the Blizzard family. And each event is really special, and it really helps unify the community and really to all the good times we have in the game, right? When I mentioned at the start of the podcast, the welcome home, right? Like that's how everybody feels. Every time I go to BlizzCon, it's people I haven't seen in a year. I haven't seen them physically in a year, but it feels like a week has gone by since I've last seen them. And we had been going to the last 4 BlizzCons together, and it feels like it's only been about a month. So it's awesome, and it's great that BlizzCon is able to get that feeling, to all of us. And at the close of every BlizzCon, the community is stronger, and oftentimes, but I guess not always, excited for the new things that are coming ahead, and ultimately revitalized. I've seen a lot of positive tweets. Fabelina and a lot of the cosplayers and artists are really revitalized, and I know I felt the same way coming out of BlizzCon and some of the content creator appreciation nights that they've done, and the Blizzard mixers. It's great to meet everybody, and as podcasters, as YouTubers, as Twitch people, it's great to feel appreciated by Blizzard. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's about a community, and lots of enthusiasm. And not everything, like we talked about, is met by the enthusiasm. But at the end of the day, enjoy what you enjoy. But if you really don't enjoy things that have no part in what you're playing, maybe take the thing back of let people enjoy things. So with that, I think we'll close off. Midges, any last words?
No, I think that's it. It was a wonderful BlizzCon. I think we got a lot of what we expected to see. It's always exciting to see the community coming together and having their meals and bringing us with them. So again, thank you for everybody who brought us to BlizzCon. For those of us who couldn't be there, and I look forward to seeing the things in all of the communities coming in the year ahead.
Absolutely. With that, guys, thank you for watching. Have a good night. Be excellent to each other. And as always, live your life heroically. Have a fantastic evening.